I'm Brenda Quintana coming to you from the Beehive. The holiday mini catalog starts tomorrow, and I thought I would give you a sneak peek of one of my favorite stamp sets from the new catalog. This is the Joyful Season stamp set, and this is the Cardinal that I fell in love with. And it's really cute, and it's so easy to do because it's a two-step process. You don't have to watercolor. You just stamp the outline and then stamp this inner piece in red. And then there's a little piece for the beak. And it's just so super cute. So I created this little note card, and this little piece just kind of folds back, and so you can just kind of see the cardinal sneaking a peek from the inside. And then I stamped a greeting from the set on the inside too. So let me show you how to make this. We are going to be using the crumb cake note cards and envelopes, and I'm going to pull out a note card and I'm going to pull out an envelope because I want to stamp the envelope too. Let me just put that aside for a second. And first of all, we're going to start off by folding the card along the score line, and we're going to crease this fold right here. And we're also going to make some marks on the card. And maybe I should mention, if you don't have the crumb cake note cards and envelopes, you can make a card this size by cutting a piece of cardstock to 7 inches by 5 inches and then scoring a half at the 3.5 inch mark. So anyway, we've got this folded, and I'm going to put this on my grid paper here. I'm going to make some marks. The first mark I'm going to make is 1.5 inches from the top on the side here. So each of these grids is 1/4 inch. So I'm going to count down 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm going to make a mark right here. And then we're also going to make a mark at the 1 3/4 inch mark. And it actually doesn't matter which way you measure over, because 1 3/4 inches is the halfway mark on the bottom. So just make yourself a mark 1 3/4 inches over. And then we're going to score this with our Simply Scored. And what I do with my Simply Scored is I take a Sharpie mark or a Sharpie marker, and I mark the 6-inch score line and make it black. So that way, if I ever have to line up something on my score line, I can see the start and the end point really clearly. It's very hard to line up these score lines without a reference point because they're so close together. So I'm taking my pencil mark from the side up top here and the one I made on the bottom, and I'm putting them both along this blackened score line or score groove, and I'm just going to take my scoring tool and score along there, and that's going to become the little flap on the front of our card. So next we're going to go ahead and stamp the Cardinal. So this was going to be the front. We can ignore that for a second, and let's go ahead and stamp our Cardinal. We're going to be using the Tuxedo Black Memento ink pad, and I'm just going to go ahead and stamp or ink him up, and I'm going to put him as close as possible to this corner because I want him to peek out. So let me go ahead and stamp him right here. And then while I have the black out, let's go ahead and ink him up, and let's make sure my envelope is the right way. And let's go put this little Cardinal guy right here, because I think this will make a really cute thing to have on the front. And while I have my black out, I'm going to take the greeting from the inside, which is this greeting right here. May your season be the perfect mix of warmth and cheer. And I thought that would make a really good inside greeting. So let's go ahead and stamp that. Let me make sure it's all inked. And let me go ahead and stamp that right here on the inside. So it's kind of close down here to the Cardinal. And then let's go ahead and get this red. Let's move the black ink pad aside. This is my real red ink pad. And I'm going to take the bold version. So that's this piece right here. And I've got it on a block, and I'm just going to ink this up. Now, this is supposed to kind of look like watercolor. So when you stamp it, it's not going to be a completely stark red. It's going to be just kind of a wash of red. So let's start on with our envelope. And I kind of take the peak of the cardinal and I start to match him up. And I also look at the tail. And when I think I've got it about right, then I'll stamp down. And if you're a little bit off, it's not going to matter. I did a pretty good job, but it's a little bit forgiving. The black kind of helps cover if you're a little bit off. And then let's go ahead and do it on the actual card. So remember, I'm lining up the top and the bottom. And when you have it, when you think you have it about right, go ahead and stamp it. Okay, I'm a little bit off here, but that's okay. I don't think anyone's gonna really be like, oh, she stamped really, really badly. Sometimes they do that intentionally in art too, not to have the outline match the inner. So let's just pretend that that's the way I wanted it. And okay, now this is the little beak. This is a really tiny piece in your stamp right there. Okay, so we're just going to go ahead and line this up with a beak. This is so nice because really all the pieces, this two-step stamping requires you to do no watercoloring. And there you go. The hardest part of the card is done for you, just stamped easy peasy like that. So the next thing we need to do is we're going to close this card and we're going to fold this piece. Let's go ahead and erase our pencil marks before we do that. And let's just go ahead and fold the piece over, and I'm going to take my bone folder and give that a little bit of a push down so that's nice and flat. Now we'll know where to stamp our joyful, and I need my real red ink pad again, and I'm going to take my stamp, my joyful stamp, and ink it up. And this stamp, again, it's not a very bold stamp. It is a watercolor wash joyful. So I'm going to go ahead and stamp it up near the top like that. So you notice it's kind of a little washed out looking, which is, I think, kind of part of the charm of this set. So let's grab our white StazOn. And what I want to do with this is I want to kind of create the landscape of snow around my joyful. And this is a very subtle snow. So I'm going to take this stamp, which is actually the stamp that matches this branch right here, but it also kind of looks like snow to me right here. So I'm going to use this to create a snowy landscape. I folded this back so it's completely open again without the flap, so I can get some snow tucked underneath here too. So when you're using this white StazOn, it comes uninked. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to, oops, not do that, don't throw it down. You are going to ink it. And I ink it, I use my tip a little bit to massage the ink in, and then I just let it sit for a few minutes. I go back, I ink it again. It needs to be kind of inked a few times, so you'll have to prep up this pad a little bit first. And if you haven't used it for a while, you will need to re-ink it again too. So I'm just going to go ahead and I'm just going to start putting some snow around my joyful. I think it also kind of helps make the joyful look like it's kind of covered in snow, and that's why it's a little blurred as well. I don't know, it makes a lot of sense to me. So just kind of come down. This StazOn is not a true stark white. It's just like a subtle hint of white. So it just kind of creates like the slight illusion of snow. And I think when the person gets it in person, they'll be able to see that. And I think they'll think that's kind of cool. So let me just put that aside for a second. Make sure you keep this little plastic piece because it does help to keep your pad from going dry too quickly. Okay, so let me just hold this up. I don't know if you can see that or not, but you can kind of just see maybe some subtle white dots, and that will represent the snow. So now the last thing we need to do is put some ribbon on this card. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my pencil, and right here on this corner piece where the flap is, I'm just going to put myself a little pencil mark right there. And then I'm also going to come over here and make myself a little pencil mark on the back of my card. I'm going to punch 2 holes, one right here and then one right here, and my ribbon's going to wrap from here to here. I want this hole on the back of the card so that it isn't really shown. It loops around to the back. So I'm going to take now my 1/8 inch circle handheld punch. I'm going to come in and I'm going to peek before I punch down. I'm going to make sure my punch is hitting along that pencil mark, and I got pretty close. And then over here on the back of the card, this doesn't have to be precisely parallel, just so it's close enough. I'm going to go ahead and punch that. So you see, if you open this up, it punched right through the card. So now I'm going to take, let me see, I'm going to take 14 inches. 14 inches of ribbon. I didn't measure my ribbon beforehand. We will find out in a minute if I cut too little or too much. And I'm going to feed my ribbon through the hole, and then I'm going to feed it through the inside. Basically, you're going to loop it around so that both ends end up on the front. Just make sure on the back that you don't have like anything that is too terribly wrinkled. You want it to sit relatively flat on the inside, and then you're just going to go ahead and tie a bow. I think 14 inches is ample. When I go and cut the ends, I'll tell you if you can maybe go with even a little less. Okay, so we've got our knot, and now let me tie the bow. Looks pretty good. And then maybe make this a little bit less loopy. And then if I'm careful, I think I can feed this end through the loop and bring it down so it's actually closer to the front like that. That's starting to look pretty good. And then you can just go ahead and cut the, oh, I'm going the wrong way, the ends off like that. And there you go, a really cute little card that has the little cardinal peeking out, and you've got a matching envelope. So I think that's really cute. Starting tomorrow, September 1st, you will be able to order the Joyful Season stamp set and many more stamp sets from the Holiday Mini. All the supplies you'll need to make this Cardinal note card are available for purchase on my blog. I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial. Bye for now.